Well, good morning. Get your coffee out because we're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about do you need, I don't like to use the N word because we don't need anything. We have everything. But do you feel that there are people in your life that perhaps it's time to say farewell, at least for now? Or have people eliminated you in their life and maybe you are a little perplexed about that? It's happened to me, and I have all equally stepped away from certain relationships myself. What is that? Is it good? Is it bad? Is that judgment? Is that us not being spiritual? Oh, no, it's a requirement right now if you want to step into a new world. I'm going to explain why. You ready? Let's go. Welcome to Landria Onkka on YouTube, here to help you break through those fears and live an amazing life. Right now, Landria, in all of this, yes, that's the whole test. It's not just I can live an amazing life when everybody behaves and I get everything I want, even though it's polluting the planet, which is how we've been living. Oh, life is great, despite the fact that everything in the way we live is really destructive to animals, plants, the planet, other people, right? We've been self-serving. We're going into a world that is not self-serving. It is service to others. It's still a choice. You will struggle and go into pain if you don't go to the route of service to other, because you will spend the rest of your life looking for the material world to make you happy, and it will continue to go to the tipping point of not doing that. Why? Because we have outworn our welcome here. All right? So the effects of all of our actions are now spewing back the negativity that we have created. And you could say, well, I didn't, but I guarantee you that you are using plastic or doing something, or chemicals, or eating fast food. I guarantee that you're doing something just by being here that contributes to the planet in a negative way. You know, there's just so much you can do. But we are all responsible, and all of us have to take those steps. Now, here's what I want to share with you about other people. When you separate yourself from other people, and I'll give you, it's such a crazy example, but somebody wanted me to stop wearing a hat. I love your messages, Landria, but, your hat's distracting. Wow, how are you functioning in the world? Because this is how we are as humans. Whether it's somebody wears a hat and you don't want them to, and you want them to stop being who they are or enjoying what they are and their expression because of you. What is that? 100% ego. That is just one example of what we do all day long. I don't want you to dress a certain way. I don't want you to live your life a certain way. I don't want you in my life because of your color or your culture or whatever. You must change for me is 100% ego-driven. Now let's talk about the other side of things where you're just trying to get along with everybody, right? Maybe you are not doing that. You're not judging. You're trying to be as open and accepting and compassionate and loving as possible. So yay, okay, you're going into community and service to others. What if the other is not respecting you? What if the other is constantly battling with you about how things are and you're battling back, right? You are having the argument, which goes nowhere, because in the real world of all things, there is no right nor wrong. There's no arguments. There's not even talking, eating, nothing. It's just pure bliss, and the rest is just sort of insanity. Well, if you're involved in that conflict, then you have to take a look at yourself and say, am I the source of this? 9 times out of 10, the answer is yes, because you're still trying to be right or enlightened, and you're trying to tell somebody else that they need to be different in order to be in the new world where they'll be happy. They are happy where they are, so allowing that is the most spiritual action that you can take. It's total acceptance and love and compassion. Now, what if you don't get along with that person? It's time for you to walk away. And it really is. I've had amazing people in my life, and quite a few of them, actually most of them, I don't really have any connection with at all. Simply because I don't have anything in common with them. You go through cycles in your life, and there's no rule that says that just because you were close to somebody at one point that they're supposed to be in your life now. That's the beauty of diversity and spiritual evolution and all the wonderful things that happen along the way that allow you to experience new relationships, new friendships, new whatever. And so it doesn't mean that you create an enemy in the person that you no longer connect with. You can wish them well and bless them. You can also see maybe the things in them that you were attracted to at the time that weren't of a higher frequency, and so therefore you were participating in it at that time, right? And so now you can look back and say, you know what, I was a part of that. I was maybe a part of somebody who was more negative or critical or, whatever it is. And so instead of blaming them, now you can look objectively, much more objectively, and say, that was a part of me at that point. It wasn't them. I was attracted to them. Okay, same thing with those of you who are in negative relationships, supposedly loving relationships. Is that really love? Or is that an addiction to chaos and control or abuse or I'm not good enough? And if you came from that, of course, it perpetuates because your parents came from it and theirs came from it. We are here to break the cycles, okay? That is one of the most difficult things as humans to do because as humans, we have patterns and they are an imprint on us physically, and so we have to go into consciousness to recognize the negative patterns. How about those people who've dumped you? I've been dumped a couple times in the last few years, and it's not that those relationships have really ended, but let's just say if there are certain people that want you to behave a certain way to make them happy. And nobody can make somebody else happy. And so that's when you have to shut the door and say, that's way too big of a job. I'm not here to talk the way you want me to or act the way you want me to. So the real ultimate decision has to be, if you want me to be a different person, then find a different person. And that sounds a little harsh, but the bottom line is that when we stop accepting one another for what we are, then we have to, say, okay, then maybe I'm just wanting something and I don't have acceptance, and acceptance is enlightenment. Acceptance can be you are maybe negative or, you are argumentative or controlling or, or you're, such toxic. And so maybe you realize there's no healthy place for me to be here, and those energy fields just are not a good match, and me not wanting to change you has to walk away from that and say, that is no longer a match. For whatever reason, you're going to have to walk away from it. It's okay. So we are always judging ourselves, saying, oh, is it wrong? Am I judging that person by... No, you're not technically judging. You're recognizing that this is not a healthy space, and you are making choices through free will of what you will and won't expose yourself to. I'll give you an example. If you choose to stop spraying chemicals in your house and on your lawn, somebody said, fertilizer's okay. I said, no, it's not. It is a pollutant. That's what's, going into our waters here. If you tell yourself a story and you make choices, when you make a shift to walk away from something, it's a 100% you saying that's toxic. I have to make a decision to walk away because I have been believing it's okay for all this time, and now I'm conscious. And so this is how it works. You have to go into consciousness and understand that your life will change. And some of it's going to seem very inconvenient at the time, but I guarantee you, ultimately what happens is the opposite. You start to create a life that's so healthy and clean, and you're not having to expose yourself to the negativity or emotional abuse of other people that you've wanted to change, and now you're realizing that the best thing you could do is have the love and compassion, acceptance, but remove yourself, because you're going to reprogram yourself to not accept that. In other words, zero tolerance. That's the zero tolerance. It's not you're wrong. It's that I'm no longer resonating with you. And you were at some point, right? I was resonating with the people that were in my life. And so now I realize I just really don't have anything in common, and there's no reason for us to be together. It would just be a real effort in a way that's not good for either of us, right? Doesn't make anybody wrong. It's time for you to start cutting, some relationships. Somebody said, do you believe in cutting cords? I said, sure, I can cut cords all day, but that doesn't end my karmic connection with people. There's a reason for it, and you absolutely are entangled with absolutely everybody you've ever come in contact and will, and everybody you do and don't see. You can cut all the cords you want, but it doesn't go away. It's still part of your learning. It's part of your past, and if you want to cut a cord, you're denying the lessons and the beauty of that relationship that you chose. So if there's any cord cutting, it's you deciding that you're not going to participate in that addiction to the arguing or negativity or whatever else, which you are perpetuating now, and they are not. That is when we must walk away and have minimal contact with that person and do it in the most peaceful, loving way without the judgment or, I can't be around you anymore because you're toxic or you're so negative and I'm enlightened. No, you know that's not the way to go. It's that I learned from this, all right? And there's a very nice way to make an exit, all right? It is time to start doing that. And so that's where the split starts to happen. And so those people will start to hang with other people that do argue with them that are on that frequency. And you'll find people that are peace-loving and want to focus more on the positive aspects of their lives and what they can do to live an amazing life. And you can do that. Nothing wrong with it, all right? So again, we want to do this without judgment and anger or blame. We want to take full responsibility. Now, if you, this is subscribe. I hope you'll subscribe. And if you want free videos in my email list, you can go in there and I give you all kinds of really cool stuff, including What Am I Manifesting, a free mobile app that you can catch your thoughts all day. What am I manifesting is a thought. You're creating our future with those thoughts, so be careful with them. All right, you're whole and perfect, strong and powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. And by the way, those of you who see this little thing coming out, those are free videos to create online businesses. I have my own training coming out soon to help you with a spiritually conscious business. We're going to change the world, and whoever doesn't want to come along, we're going to bless that. And you know what? We all end up in the same place because we are the one. We are the one from the same place. We are the same place. We are the creators. No judgment, all right? Blessings to you, my friend. Namaste.